course, for the news wherever you are. Have a very good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jane. Coming up on tonight's Look East. Another by-election looms following the suspension of the Wellingborough MP Peter Bone over allegations of bullying. We've been getting reaction today in his constituency. Also tonight, 60 people are involved in a major security incident at Ywood Immigration Detention Centre. The new school building that's still closed because of fears it could collapse in extreme weather. And a royal visit. King Charles looks around a new hospice. First, the latest on the suspension of Peter Bone, the Conservative MP facing allegations of bullying and inappropriate behaviour. Today it was confirmed there will be a vote on his future. A recall petition will open in the Wellingborough constituency next month. If 10% of residents sign it, it will trigger a by-election. Last week, a huge Conservative majority in mid-Bedfordshire was overturned. Our political correspondent Ben Schofield's been getting reaction.
Still out campaigning despite the complaints. Peter Bone said accusations of bullying and harassment were false, untrue and without foundation. What do some of his constituents now think?
Just a shock to hear that somebody in that position could be doing something like that.
If what he's been accused of is true, then definitely not. Should definitely toddle off.
I find it disappointing that MPs feel like they can act like that when they've been given the vote of the people of Wellingborough. And then especially bullying I find particularly terrible.
And do you think he deserves to keep his seat?
Not at all. Not at all. Not with the bullying and the allegations against him. Definitely not. I feel quite strongly about it.
Mr Bone's 6-week suspension means a recall petition will be opened, which, if 10% of voters sign it, could trigger a by-election. In 2019, there were almost 81,000 registered voters here in Wellingborough. So if there's a similar number today, that would mean around 8,100 would need to sign the petition for it to succeed. But not everyone is a critic.
It's a load of rubbish, it's a shame. He's been a great support to the NHS, to us. He has helped me in the past, and I think he's a great man. I think it's a shame.
Peter has been an outstanding MP for 18 years. He's helped tens of thousands of local residents with difficulties that they've had, and that it should come to an end like this, I think is very sad for all concerned.
The grip of the party is such that people dare not speak out too loudly, because they're too worried then about any personal repercussions.
Does this pose wider questions for Conservatives in Northamptonshire? Ian McCord was the party's and council leader in South Northants and is now an independent on West Northants.
The moment that there is a complaint or a scandal, the culture and the immediate reaction is to shut it down and circle the wagons and say somewhere between nothing and very little, and then hope that it all passes and then carry on business as usual.
I don't think there's any place for bullying in any workplace, whether an MP or not.
Meanwhile, more views on Mr Bone at Redwell Leisure Centre.
I don't think he's a fit, proper person to be an MP for the constituency, given his track record.
People in a position of power doesn't mean that they have the right to do things that are wrong.
People in other walks of life wouldn't get away with it, and so just because someone's in Parliament, they shouldn't get a free pass.
The chair of Wellingborough's Conservative Association told the BBC today that he didn't want to speak about Mr Bone's suspension or the recall petition. That petition should open on Wednesday, November the 8th and close 6 weeks later on Tuesday, December the 19th. A note from North Northamptonshire Council says that only those who want to see the MP removed need to sign the petition. Ben Schofield, BBC Look East in Wellingborough.
60 people have been involved in a major security incident at Ywood Immigration Detention Centre near Bedford. Police were called and a detainee told the BBC windows and doors were smashed. Sam Reid sent this.
It was around 9:30 last night that police were called here. Around 60 detainees involved in a protest, people refusing to return to their rooms. One detainee anonymously telling the BBC doors and windows were smashed, people had to sleep in corridors. Now, we know 2 staff members received minor injuries, no detainees were injured and none escaped. Now, this place detains people where there's some kind of dispute over their immigration status, but it is not the first major security breach here. Back in April, 13 people escaped after a riot then, and that means people who live nearby, like John, have big questions, including for Serco, who operate this place.
But we've had 3 or 4 of these incidents, and I think that people have to ask, what are Serco doing up here? Indeed, whether they should be running the place.
It's not just John with concerns. A report earlier this month from government inspectors was very critical, said this place is just not safe enough. Now, for its part, the Home Office told us incidents like this are extremely rare and they have robust security measures in place. Serco described what happened last night as a disturbance. They said order was peacefully restored and the centre is now calm. But for many people who live near here, well, big questions about what happens inside this facility remain. Sam Reid, BBC Look East, near Bedford.
Time now for a quick roundup of some other news. A husband has been found guilty of stabbing his wife to death after wrongly believing she was having an affair. Dr. Antonella Castelvedere, who was a lecturer at the University of Suffolk, was killed by 50-year-old Ertan Ersoy at the home they shared in Colchester. The jury at Chelmsford Crown Court heard how Ersoy had attempted to control his wife's life and used listening devices to record her conversations. He'll be sentenced tomorrow. The Rail Minister has told MPs he intends to deliver on the government's promise to upgrade the Ely rail junction in Cambridgeshire. There's been a long campaign for better track and signalling at the junction. In Parliament, the Norfolk MP James Wilde asked the Minister to start the work as rapidly as possible.
It's a superb project, really delivers for freight and ensures that freight can travel from Felixstowe across to the Midlands rather than having to go south. So I can assure you that we will be on that project and getting it delivered.
Empty shops in Ipswich could be bought up by the council as part of an £8 million regeneration of the town centre. Plans to be discussed next week also include a new visitor trail and electronic information boards. The defence has started in the trial of a teenager who's accused of fatally stabbing another boy. 16-year-old Harley Barfield from Haverhill in Suffolk died in January. The jury at Ipswich Crown Court has heard how he was stabbed through the heart. The teenager on trial denies murder. Zoe O'Brien sent this.
Opening the defence today, Stephen Rose Casey said that his client, a teenager who we can't name because of his age, did stab Harley Barfield with a knife from his own kitchen. He also said that the 16-year-old fled the scene afterwards. But he said the defence will argue over the next few weeks what the prosecution says happened on that day and in the days leading up to it. Harley Barfield was stabbed on January the 9th. He died 2 days later. The defendant in this trial admits stabbing him, but denies murder. Mr. Rose said the defendant has autistic spectrum disorder and disputes that he was lying in wait for Harley. He says the defence will argue actually he was surprised to see him. Mr. Rose said in this case the defence will argue the defendant's mental condition affected his thinking and behaviour, particularly on the 9th of January, in a way that ultimately should reduce his level of responsibility for this killing. Well, the defence will continue with its case on Monday and it's expected psychiatrists will be called to give evidence in front of the jury. Zoe O'Brien, BBC Look East.
A school that had to delay teaching because of fears its main building could collapse in extreme weather still doesn't know when it will reopen. Parents of pupils at Sir Frederick Gibbard College in Harlow say they're worried about the impact on their children's education. Simon Dedman reports.
Children were expected to be walking into their modern 2-year-old school building in September. After a delay to the academic year at Sir Frederick Gibbard in Harlow, most have been taught in these temporary structures. This because of concerns the new building could collapse in heavy snow or high winds. Harriet explains what it's like in the temporary classrooms.
It started off pretty well. However, the past few weeks the conditions have deteriorated quite a lot. There's mould on some of the ceilings, the walls are paper thin, and the paint on the radiators has started to melt off and puddle on the floor. And then the toilet started to sink, and it's just, the condition has got worse over time.
School will be delayed again after this week's half-term break, so improvements can be made. For Tom in Year 7, he will be taught for the rest of the academic year at a neighbouring school.
We were told that it's only going to be until Christmas, so I'm a bit annoyed and let down that it's going to be for an entire year, because there's not the same amount of resources as SFG.
For Father Mark, who used to lead Harlow Council, he, like other parents, may have to take time off work if his children are at home next week.
The plan that was put in place hasn't been stuck to. We've faced last-minute delays, last-minute cancellations of children going to school, sometimes the night before, and it's simply not good enough.
Do you think this is going to affect your children's grades and their education?
Yes, I think it is.
This school in Northamptonshire has also had to close. Children here have been bused to neighbouring schools. The same company that built Sir Frederick Gibbard, Caledonia Modular, have gone bust. While the boss of this school says they've reluctantly taken the tough decision to delay the second half of the school term. That's to make improvements to the tent-like classrooms on the school grounds. They were supposed to be getting more substantial temporary classrooms in mid-November. That's been delayed until April. And the Department for Education, who's responsible for all of this, says they're urgently trying to rectify the situation and minimise disruption to learning this winter. Harlow's MP Robert Halfon, who is an education minister, told the BBC the situation is a shambles and the delay in the substantial temporary classrooms is because groundworks need to be done first. Simon Dedman, BBC Look East, Harlow.
Still to come, the weather, town's latest triumph, and a taste bud tantalising report on healthy food. King Charles was in Norfolk this afternoon. He officially opened a new hospice in Norwich. It took 4 years to raise the £12.5 million needed to build it. Alex Dunlop is there now. Alex.
Hi there, Tom. Well, King Charles left here late this afternoon after spending more than an hour here at the new Priscilla Bacon Lodge talking to staff and volunteers. Well, this was the moment when he unveiled a plaque to mark the official opening. I have to say that everyone here was delighted and actually very surprised to see the King, because it's just a few weeks after the first patients moved in. The unveiling, as you can see, and the signing of the visitors' book just took a few minutes, but certainly the highlight of the King's visit was taking time out to talk to patients and the nursing staff.
To give a crown to the monarch is a rare treat, as much for King Charles as it was for 4-year-old Ariel, who made it. Her mum Rebecca was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer just 4 months ago. For them both, this was quite a day.
When you gave him the crown, what did he say?
Said thank you.
Why did you make him a crown? He's already got one.
Maybe he can have 2.
For me, yeah, it's a day that I'll remember. All of us are all extremely unwell and all going through really horrible times. So something like this is, I think, is a really, really uplifting, and makes people happy.
King Charles went on to meet some outpatients, a new facility here enabling more people like Bernard to live at home. Then onto the therapy garden, designed specifically to give patients solace and comfort.
Did you help plant the yews and things?
No, we were planting yesterday.
You were planting yesterday?
It isn't just about the visit. The memories of this visit will stay with people. And, when things are tough, you just remember that swell of just kind of enthusiasm and appreciation and pride, I think, in what people have achieved here and achieve every day.
The charity is named after Lady Priscilla Bacon, who led fundraising efforts for their old building 4 decades ago. Their brand new hospice is thanks to a £12.5 million fundraising effort.
The day was absolutely superb, and the big word is wow.
And you shook hands with the King?
I shook hands with the King and he spoke to me. Yes, wonderful, really great.
King Charles was also keen to take time out to meet the backbone of Priscilla Bacon Lodge, the nursing staff, the volunteers and the fundraisers. This at least his fourth visit to the charity, and one clearly close to his heart.
This plaque wall in the days to come, chatting to Sandra, the chief executive, she said, yes, the visit only lasted an hour or so, but the resonance of his time here will last for many years and also, crucially, raise the compassionate role of hospices like Priscilla Bacon.
OK, Alex, thank you. It's World Stroke Day this month. 1 in 4 people will have a stroke, but what you might not realise, it doesn't just affect older people. Alex Bowles from Essex is a stroke survivor. She had hers when she was just 23. She told me her story.
I basically went on a night out with some friends on a Friday. Next day, I thought I just had the normal hangover like any 23-year-old would. However, that weekend, I just felt progressively worse. And then I must have been just talking gibberish, not making much sense at all. My mum phoned the ambulance because she knew something was wrong. When they got to me, they knew something was quite serious, so they took me straight to Queen's. From there, I went straight onto a stroke ward at 23.
And presumably, given your age, it would have never even crossed your mind that you were having a stroke.
Not at all, no. At the time, I didn't even really realise what was going on. I think it was purely that my mum and a friend that was at our house at the time knew that I shouldn't be talking and not making sense.
And we've got some pictures here of you beforehand. You were very clearly a perfectly happy, healthy 20-something-year-old.
Yeah, I was 23. And in fact, I'd not long been back from Vegas. And then, I was in hospital being treated for a stroke.
And that's why now, 10 years on, you're very keen to raise awareness about what happened and hopefully help other young people that might be in a similar situation.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think unless you've gone through it, you will never understand. Physically, I look fine. Anyone that sees me wouldn't even know what had happened unless I say. But it comes with a lot of dark places and a lot of frustration.
So life for you has been quite different since your stroke?
Yeah, I remember first coming out of hospital, I couldn't read properly, I couldn't write, I didn't understand, I couldn't have full conversations, I certainly couldn't have a conversation with more than one person. It was quite scary because it's almost like I went back to childlike. I just wanted to be with my mum.
You okay now?
Yeah. I still have my issues. I still have things that I struggle with. So sometimes when I speak, I get words mixed up and things like that. But I've just learnt to live with it, and just it is who I am now.
Okay, Alex. Well, I'm glad you're doing well now, and thanks ever so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
And if you've been affected by any of the issues raised in that interview, you can head to the Action Line section of the BBC website, where there is information on how to find support. Now, I don't know if litter is a problem where you live, but I'm guessing it probably is. It's everywhere. In Northamptonshire, volunteers are trying to do something about it. And this week they've taken their litter picking, there we go, campaign to Parliament. Amelia's looking into this on Politics East. I bet you'll say it perfectly now.
Don't build me up. So those volunteers you were talking about, there are 3,500 of them, and they call themselves the Northamptonshire Wombles. Now, do you remember Orinoco, Great Uncle?
Well, I remember the Wombles of Wimbledon, yeah, sure.
Great. Okay, I thought you were going to make me feel really old and look back at me blankly. But no, they have collected an incredible 73,000 bags full of litter, and they're feeling really strongly about this campaign. So they took it to Parliament and met the Environment Minister, who told them that the government is awarding councils with grants to tackle fly tipping and strengthening powers to prosecute waste criminals. But you know what? I think, if people like that, if volunteers weren't there, the litter just wouldn't get picked up, would it? So why do they do it?
Well, I don't get paid in money, but I get paid in happiness. I meet lovely people along the way, And it's just really, really satisfying to do something about it, not just to say, you know, things need happening, but actually be out there and do the thing.
And you want people to get in touch?
Yes, I mean, it can be about litter or fly tipping or anything really. It's all to do with the part of the programme we call Your Shout. So get in touch with me if there is something bothering you in your area. It could be overflowing bins, speeding drivers, potholes, whatever it is. Send me an email. There it is on your screen, amelia.reynolds@bbc.co.uk. And that's Politics East this Sunday, BBC One at 10.
We'll be watching. I'm going to practice litter picking.
That's
litter
it.
picking.
You've got it. You've got it.
Right, football now. There's no stopping Ipswich Town. They won again last night. Nathan Broadhead scored the only goal in a 1-0 win at Bristol City. It means Town have won 10 of their opening 12 games since getting promoted and lie second in the Championship with a 9-point cushion to Leeds in third.
We're just missing the second goal, really. I think the second goal would have killed the game. When you don't do that and you're away from home, 1-0, we've had it before, you know there's going to be some pressure come on. And that was the case, and the way the last 20 minutes played out, we had to show spirit, had to show some resilience, had to dig in. Definitely could have done some things better and managed the situation a little bit better, but you know, spirit and will got us over the line.
And staying with sport, the search is on for this year's BBC Sport Unsung Hero. We're looking for amazing volunteers who work hard to make sure everyone else enjoys their sports. The fundraisers, kit washers, coaches and people who prepare the pitches. This year's campaign is fronted by the Essex gymnast, Max Whitlock.
Making it to the top of your game is the dream for so many people.
Max Whitlock is the Olympic champion.
It's the pinnacle. But to get there, you have to start somewhere a little closer to home. There are community clubs and groups giving people all across the country the opportunity to get involved in sport. These places are led by amazing volunteers who deserve a huge thank you for everything they do. Nominate your unsung hero now for a special Sports Personality of the Year award at bbc.co.uk/unsung hero.
Now, there's an old saying which probably contains more than a grain of truth. You are what you eat. Our diets have a huge impact on our health. A charity in Bedford which works with Black and Asian communities is helping people make healthier food choices. The hope is it will cut heart disease and diabetes.
Eating healthily for a better future. These residents in Bedford have been learning how to make good food choices to support their physical well-being. It's an initiative launched this week by the Open Doors Training and Development Trust, which works with African Caribbean communities to address health inequalities.
We decided to have this project to create awareness, especially within the Black Asian community, regarding how they need to know that they have some condition, that how can they address it and prevent it from happening. And that is the core reason why this project was set up.
The aim is to show how healthy eating habits can be simple, affordable and delicious.
It's a way of showing people you can actually enjoy good food and, and be healthy, because a lot of people feel like by being healthy, I'm going to miss out on good food. Through this, I teach people that you can have tasty food and still be healthy.
Chronic conditions such as diabetes and heart disease are more prevalent within Black and Asian communities, which is why public health initiatives like this are so important. In addition, a recent review of health services by Bedfordshire, Luton and Milton Keynes Integrated Care Board found there was a need for a more culturally sensitive approach to health services for communities here. For families in Bedford, the Open Doors initiative is already making a difference.
I thought if we could start from the family, from the children, they will grow up to see that healthy living is a way of life, and they will see it as something that is priority and important to their life.
For me, on a personal level, I think it's really important to choose healthy lifestyle, especially eating and exercise and things like. Because for me, on a personal journey, I had healthy issues, and I was overweight, and I had lots of problems with my health.
The project will run every week, and it's hoped it will encourage people to take control of their own healthcare. After all, prevention is better than cure. Amara Sophia Elahi, BBC Look East.
OK, it's time for the weather now. Here's Georgie.
Good evening. Not quite the calm picture behind me over the next few days. A taste of things to come in the form of some very unsettled weather. It's a messy picture for tomorrow and across the weekend. And that's thanks to a deepening area of low pressure. It's currently sitting just to the west of Ireland, but that is going to bring some potentially disruptive weather over the weekend. More about that in just a moment. Let's look at tonight's forecast first. Actually fairly quiet tonight, largely dry and clear. Any remaining showers clearing away through the early hours. And as the winds fall light, we'll see some mist and murky patches forming through the early hours. Also cool with overnight lows of 6 Celsius. So I suspect feeling distinctly autumnal first thing tomorrow morning. Make the most of that dry weather. It's not going to last very long. Soon we'll begin to see a rash of thundery and potent showers across the region. Hit and miss, but if you are caught in one, you'll certainly know about it. And I suspect feeling a bit cooler than those highs of 15 Celsius. So we've seen our area of low pressure. You can see this frontal system associated with it. That is going to bring some potentially disruptive weather on Saturday and Sunday. Now, the Met Office have issued a yellow weather warning. That's currently in place from midnight tomorrow night, that's Friday night, until 6 a.m. on Sunday morning for heavy rain, blustery winds, and of course the risk of localised flooding. So definitely worth keeping up to date with the forecast. Lots changing all the time. So wet and windy Friday night all the way through into Saturday. Not great news, of course, if you're travelling home for the end of half term. As I said, keep up to date with the forecast. Temperature wise, very similar, highs of 15 Celsius, but again, feeling cooler than that in those brisk winds. So as I said, as far as temperatures for the time of year, we're around the average. You'd expect it to be around 14 or 15 Celsius with a mixture of sunshine and showers. Overnight as well, we're seeing pretty average temperatures, so no risk of any frost or fog at the moment particularly. But things are beginning to change ever so slightly. That feel of autumn is definitely here. Cooler nights initially, then slightly milder for a few nights. And again, temperature-wise, it's going to be around 14 to 13 Celsius. With a mixture of sunshine and showers and some very blustery winds. Do take care and have a lovely evening. Good night.
Don't leave home without your brolly. OK, now, of course, we always like to hear from you. If you think there's a story we should cover, scan the QR code on your screen now to send us a message on WhatsApp or send us an email. You can also find us on social media. Please make sure you leave a daytime contact number. OK, that's it. Don't forget, I'll be back with the late news at 10:25. See you then. Bye-bye.
All around the planet, animals